You're not failing. You're just being pulled in too many directions at once. The war you feel every day, the chaos, the pressure, the exhaustion, is not outside. It is inside you. It is the conflict between who you really are and the role you are trying to keep up with the world. You're not weak. You're just tired because your mind is so fragmented. Between the hundreds of things to do, the thousands of information pouring in every day, no one ever taught you how to focus. No one tells you that focus is a skill and the most valuable skill in this day and age. Not in school, not when you're in pain and no one notices, and not when you wake up in the endless news feed. And you know what's saddest? We've grown up in a world that rewards noise, where whoever says more, posts more, shows more, is automatically assumed to be doing well. And you feel like you're losing. You're not. You just haven't learned how to protect your attention. And sometimes just understanding that you've already started the journey back. Have you ever woken up and felt like you weren't yourself? The moment you open your eyes, you're surrounded by hundreds of voices, text messages, notifications, social media, other people's expectations, and the voice in your head telling you you're not good enough. The irony is, most of those voices aren't yours. They come from the outside world, and you're letting them in. You check your phone before you check your soul. You scroll through the news before you ask, how am I feeling today? And then you get sucked into a game you never signed up for. A game of comparison, of winning and losing, of constantly chasing after. And then you start to feel anxious. Not for any particular reason, but because your mind has no room to breathe. You think too much. You get distracted. You feel lost in your own life. We call it modern life, but in reality, it is a maze, a noise-induced illusion where we are constantly moving but have no idea where we are going. The question is, have you ever wondered, in all that noise, which voice is truly yours? You are not broken. You are not useless. You are not weak. You are just distracted. Your mind, if left untrained, will be like a knife left outside. Over time, it will rust. Not because it is no longer valuable, but because it has forgotten what it was created for. You used to have a sharp mind, sharp enough to distinguish between truth and lies, sharp enough to see through the noise, through the illusion of false success, and go straight to the core. But now what happened? Your mind is being pulled by 1,000 pieces of information. It is being pulled by fascinating but meaningless things, by short clips, other people's lives, expectations that don't belong to you. Try stopping and asking yourself, if you are a knife, what are you being used for? To cut through the truth or just to decorate the drawers of modern life? The scary thing is not that you lose your ability, it's that you lose yourself in a sea of needs, none of which really matter. You don't have to start over. You just have to remember why you were made. Do you realize? The world is always pulling you along, little by little. Not a day goes by that you don't see someone who has more than you, more money, more likes, more applause. And if you're not careful, you'll start running after everything, except yourself. You try to keep up with everything, but in the end, you keep nothing. Because when you try to hold on to everything, you lose your soul. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, if you seek peace, do less. Not laziness, but less of the unimportant. Less of the things that weaken you. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest lessons of our time. We're taught to be busy, to be up to date, to always be one step ahead of everyone else. And then what? We just get more tired, more empty. Wise people do not run after everything. They know how to be selective. They know there are things worth refusing, of which they should turn their backs, not because they are not strong enough, but because they understand that there are races, even if they win, that are not worth it. You don't have to do everything. You just have to do something meaningful. And to do that, you have to learn to say no to meaningless competition, to other people's expectations, and to the noise within yourself. You're not lazy. You're not unmotivated. You're just off track. We grow up in a society that teaches us to always be on the go, to be busy, to do a lot. But no one tells you that moving without direction will only leave you exhausted and nowhere. Have you ever felt like you work all day, but feel empty at night? That's because you're repeating a familiar cycle. The day starts with noise and ends with noise. News, emails, social media, half-finished videos. They all wash over you in a never-ending stream. But the most dangerous thing isn't the pain, it's the distraction, because pain, or at least keeps you awake. It reminds you that you are alive. Distraction does the opposite. It lulls you to sleep, keeps you living in a state of limbo, as if you never really existed. The truth is, not everyone who is moving forward, and not everyone who is busy is living with purpose. So instead of asking, am I doing enough? Start asking, am I living up to what I really need? Today, to focus is no longer a skill. It is a mental rebellion. In a world where everyone is shouting, everyone wants your attention. Being silent, withdrawing inward, choosing to focus is how you regain freedom. Not physical freedom, freedom of the mind. Every time you let yourself be swept away by the noise, you sell a piece of your soul. A small piece of your true self is traded for a brief glimpse on a screen, a fleeting moment of distraction. But you know the strong version of you is still there. The clear, disciplined, calm person, not in the stuff you consume every day, but in the silence you avoid. We often think that power comes from action, but actually sometimes power comes from know how to sit still. Sit still with yourself. No background music, no news, no distractions. It is in that silence that you find yourself. And when you do that, you don't just regain focus, you regain yourself. We live in an age where everyone is trying to prove something, that we are busy, that we are important, that we are doing something. But you know what? Silence proves nothing. It's unobtrusive. It's unhurried. But that's why it's more powerful than any noise. True power is not in noise. It is in deep stillness, where you don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to be better than anyone. You just need to be yourself, clearly and consistently. You think you're tired because you're doing too much? You're tired because you're doing too many of the wrong things. Every single thing you do takes energy, but not every single thing gets you closer to who you want to be. Seneca said, "He who is everywhere is present nowhere." And that is the reality of so many people. Busy but not awake. Talking a lot but not being listened to. Moving constantly but not feeling alive. So sometimes what you need isn't more goals. It isn't more plans. It's less. Get rid of what distracts you, what weakens you, what makes you forget who you are. Silence is the new power. Stillness is the new energy. And clearly, the rarest form of rebellion in a chaotic world. Stop for a moment and ask yourself, what are you building? Who are you becoming? And where is all this hustle and bustle taking you? We often mistakenly think that the more we do, the more we achieve, the more progress we make. But if you don't know what you're aiming for, all your efforts are just distractions disguised as busyness. You don't need another time management app. You don't need another New Year's goal. What you need is clarity. The ability to look at your life and eliminate without mercy things that no longer serve inner growth. Because the discipline you need has, in fact, always been there. It doesn't come from a spur of the moment, it comes from awareness. But it's been buried beneath years of distraction, comfort, and quick rewards. There's a clear, powerful you that's been forgotten. And now, you can go back. Focus is not something you go out and find. It's something you return to. You peel away layers of noise. You cut away. There are questions you should ask yourself. Not every year, but every day. What am I building? Who am I becoming? Where is all this leading me? Because if you don't stop to wonder, you'll be caught up in someone else's journey, living a life you never really chose. We still think that to become strong, we have to find something new, a secret, a tool, a habit. But the truth is, the discipline you need, the strength you desire, has always been within you. It's just being buried by too much noise, too much convenience, and instant gratification that blurs the sense of real life. You don't have to be someone else. You just have to come back. Focus is not something you run out there to find. It is something you return to within. You've had it all along. You just forgot because the world made you believe that you had to run to live. But sometimes stopping is the first step to moving forward. You reject every layer of falsehood. You reject every weakness that pulls you astray. And then you see the real you, the person you used to be before the world made you forget it. Finally, when all the noise outside dies down, you are left alone and a question hits you straight in the mind. Where did my energy go? You don't fall because of failure. You're exhausted by small leaks, invisible but persistent distractions that pull you away from your true self. You give too much attention to things that don't deserve it, to things that don't build you up but only distract you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are suffering because of something external, it is not because of the thing itself, but because of how you perceive it, and you can change that immediately." And you can change. Now, not by running faster, but by stopping, looking straight, and taking stock. Reclaim your time. Reclaim your mind. You were not born to live in noise. You were born to do something deeper, and that starts with stillness, clarity, and a mind that cannot be manipulated. If you feel like what just happened touches your soul somewhere, please subscribe to the channel Daily Stoic Light today. This is not just a place to share Stoic philosophy, but a space for you to return to your true self, step by step, with mindfulness, focus, and quiet strength. And I want to know what you think. What do you think is silently draining your energy every day? Please leave a comment below. I read every line.